Imagine walking onto a beach with the simplest plan in the universe. Sun, water, overpriced food, silence. Now imagine the universe looking at your plan, laughing, then shoving you into a full-scale family operation where you, a stranger, end up babysitting 3 children, rescuing a rogue flamingo, and getting formally adopted by a grandmother you've never met. I went to the beach as a free man. I left as somebody's temporary uncle. If you've ever had a day that went completely off the rails in the most cinematic way possible, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. Because this beach day turned into a full production, slow-motion, windswept saga I never saw coming. Last July, the sun was doing that golden thing the movies always exaggerate, except this time it actually was that beautiful, warm, soft, like somebody turned the saturation up in real life. My friend Luca and I stepped onto the sand with one shared vision: do absolutely nothing, no drama, no responsibilities. No surprises, just sunburn, and maybe a $12 lemonade. That was it. But the universe never respects simplicity, because the moment our towels hit the sand, we realized we had placed ourselves directly beside what could only be described as a beach settlement. Not a family, not a group, a settlement. A fully operating village. Umbrellas like colorful satellite dishes. Chairs forming a perimeter. Coolers stacked like defensive walls. Toys scattered everywhere like the aftermath of some tiny, adorable explosion. A grandmother in the background weaving sunscreen through the air like ancient magic. The father knees in the sand. Eyes narrowed, sculpted a sandcastle with the intensity of a medieval architect who knew invading forces were coming at dawn. Luca and I exchanged a look. We should move. We didn't, because laziness, more powerful than common sense, won the battle. Luca left to get drinks, and the moment he did, the universe cracked its knuckles. Out of the chaos emerged the smallest child, a toddler wearing floaties roughly the size of small planets. She waddled toward the water, every step determined, like she had been summoned by Poseidon himself. The parents were occupied with their respective micro-disasters, Dad reinforcing his sand fortress. Mum negotiating why sand is not a snack, the older kids attempting diplomacy over a plastic bucket, and the toddler, unnoticed, drifted further toward the ocean like a tiny Roomba programmed for doom. I sighed, stood, and intercepted her just as the water licked her ankles. She blinked up at me, eyes huge, cheeks sun-kissed, and without hesitation grabbed my finger like a long-lost friend. Then she marched back to my towel and sat down. Just like that, I had been chosen. When the mum finally noticed, she didn't panic, didn't scream, didn't even hurry. She simply walked over, sighed, and said, "Thank you. Can you just watch her for 1 second? We need to reorganize." 1 second, a harmless phrase. The biggest lie ever spoken. Because 10 minutes later, I was still there. The toddler now handing me wet sand with the gravitas of someone presenting diplomatic offerings. Each handful soaked through my towel, and she looked incredibly proud of this contribution to the war effort. Then came the middle child. He strode up like a tiny foreman inspecting a new hire. "You know how to build a tunnel fort?" he asked. Before I could answer, he placed a shovel in my hand like we'd just signed a contract. I had not by the time Luca returned, holding 2 cold drinks and a face full of confusion. I was fully entrenched, surrounded by small humans. He looked down at me, then at the children, then back at me. "I leave you alone for 5 minutes, he said. 5. I shrugged. Somehow shrugging does not convey I did not choose this life. It chose me. Meanwhile, the parents acted like my presence was the most natural thing in the world. The mother handed me a juice pouch with the casual authority of someone giving an employee a coffee break. The father waved at me a friendly, approving wave, as if I had been onboarded hours ago and already passed probation. And then the grandmother. The grandmother looked at Luca, clucked her tongue, and said, "He's very good with kids. You should keep him." I had been evaluated, approved, and spoken for. I was in too deep to escape now. For a brief moment, everything settled into a strange, peaceful rhythm. The kids built sand structures around me like I was the central pillar of some ancient civilization. The mother finally sat down, exhausted. The father surveyed his sandcastle fortress with pride. Then, the wind shifted. A single powerful gust tore across the beach, dramatic enough to deserve orchestral music. It hit the family's umbrella like a freight train. The umbrella ripped from the sand, shot into the sky, and flew across the beach like a medieval spear on a mission. The father shouted and dashed after it halfway through. He tripped spectacularly, his fall taking out a massive inflatable flamingo in one slow-motion cinematic tackle. The flamingo, freed from gravity and fatherly control, drifted toward the ocean. The kids screamed, not normal screaming, but the kind of screaming you hear when a priceless artifact is stolen. Luca laughing, doubling over, hands on his knees, absolutely gone. The mother, unfazed. She sighed deeply, the sigh of someone who has met chaos many times and accepted it as a co-parent. And then, of course, it happened. I, a stranger, was assigned the rescue mission. The mum called out, "Can you get the flamingo?" Not a please, not a question, just pure trust and command. I looked at Luca, who shrugged in a way that said, "You're already part of the family. Go." So I ran into the water, into the waves, almost fell twice. Definitely swallowed a mouthful of salt. But I caught the flamingo victory. The toddler on the shore clapped, floaties bouncing off her arms, cheering as if I had just achieved Olympic glory. When I returned, dripping and triumphant, the dad reattached the umbrella. The children reclaimed the flamingo, and the grandmother proudly handed me a cookie like I had been knighted. Eventually, the Great Migration began, the family packing up their camp with the efficiency of trained professionals. The mum thanked me, the dad saluted me with a shovel, and the grandmother kissed my cheek. And then they were gone. Silence returned to the beach. Lucas stared at me, shaking his head, hands in his pockets. "You realize," he said slowly, "you worked a full shift. For people we do not know." I collapsed onto my towel, soaked, sandy, exhausted. "Yes, Luca, yes, I do." I had arrived at the beach to tan and relax. I left as a temporary uncle, a rescue worker, and apparently a part-time employee of a family whose last name I will never know. It's strange, sometimes the most unexpected days end up becoming the ones you remember the most. I went in chasing peace, and instead got adopted, drafted, and promoted all in the same afternoon. And honestly, it was chaotic, exhausting, ridiculous, but also weirdly beautiful. Life has a funny way of throwing you into other people's stories, even if just for a moment. If this story gave you a smile or reminded you of a day that spiraled into unexpected chaos, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most random thing that ever happened to you at the beach? Don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic stories like this. And remember, sometimes you go looking for calm and find a family instead.